3, 2, 1.
What's up, everybody? It's Gonna Get Weird. It's the podcast. Scott Clark, Frank Green. You want to hit us up? It's Gonna Get Weird at Gmail 369. It's Gonna Get Weird 369 at gmail.com. Sorry about that. And then we also, of course, starting off good, man. And we also have, we're on Twitter at Get Weird PC. We are now also on Facebook. We are available at Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Tell a friend, share, do all that. Frank, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. It sounded like you said Apple Podcasts.
I think I did. Did I say that wrong too?
I think people will figure. I think people will figure that one out though. I like that.
That's good. That's good. All right. Today we got author of Free Roll. We've got the host of Stand Up Explained, the host of The 31 from BrandtTobler.com. It is national touring, headlining comedian Brandt Tobler.
Yes.
On It's Gonna Get Weird.
I'm here. Let's get weird. I'm not nationally touring anymore. I'm rarely touring, but let's get weird.
Are you doing any shows at like Comedy Works or anything anywhere right now?
You know, Comedy Works is still kind of closed. I think they're going to open mid-March. I've done a couple shows this last couple weeks. Kind of the outskirts of Denver have opened up, and then Wyoming, where I'm from, is kind of its own little island and does whatever it wants. So I've done some Wyoming shows that helped me survive this pandemic, but it's starting to pick back up. So I'm hoping mid-March Comedy Works will open back up, and then I just booked a week of shows in Vegas at the end of March. So it's coming back around.
You probably have a skill set other than comedy too that can probably hustle you through this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people do, even if they won't admit it.
Yeah, I've probably done some things that aren't legal to survive this. But, you know what I mean?
Well, I don't know what you're talking about.
Who is this?
They just want to give you unemployment from every state. I guess I'll take all 50 states and be richer than I've ever been. No, actually,
that's
there's all these crazy grants and shit for artist people. So I at first I didn't really pay attention to them, and then I filled out some of this. It's just like paperwork. But then I filled out a couple and got some pretty big grants. So it's kind of sad. I think I've made more money not being a comedian than I did as a comedian. So I have to kind of to think about the lifestyle I've chose. But no, it's been all right, man. I thought this was gonna last a month or two. I was arguing with my girlfriend in the beginning. I was like, Americans just aren't going to go for this. We can't. This is not how we're built, and now we're almost a year in. So
I'm damn near trained for it now.
Yeah, now it's just part of life. So
I guess once you get up to about 250,000, people start going, "Oh, okay, maybe this is serious enough to take serious now."
Yeah, no, I take it serious, and that's the thing. My girlfriend, I hate rules. Anybody that knows me, I just don't like rules. And she called me on it the other day. She's like, "You hate rules. Why are you?" And I'm like, you can't really argue anything because the second you try to fight this, they'll just be like, 400,000 people dead. What kind of piece of shit person are you? And then I'm like, I can't, I just have kind of got in line, which is not my MO, but it's just hard to argue. And over time, people in my life have been affected by it. So in the beginning, it was just a disease I heard about. And then having people lose people in their life and stuff, I had to take it a little more serious, which isn't my style, but here we are. We'll get through it.
Right on.
So with all your unemployment money, is that how you got that huge Super Bowl spread of food, or did your girlfriend buy all of that?
My girlfriend did that. That's why with all my unemployment money and grant money, I bought a ring. And that's why I'm going to propose. I'm probably going to propose this week, actually.
So don't send her this podcast.
But
next week.
She hates podcasts. She doesn't listen to mine, anything. So I always joke about that. But no, she, I got lucky having an amazing girlfriend who loves to entertain. So she was like, hey, can you invite a bunch of people over for the Super Bowl? And I'll make a bunch of stuff. And then we went to the grocery store, and then she didn't even let me buy it. I mean, usually in my life, because I can't cook. So my whole life has been like, I'll buy and you make it for my family during Thanksgiving or anything like that. And she's like, no, I got it. So I was like, dang.
So now you want me to break rules?
Yeah, now you're trying to get
okay to break the rules. Now you want to entertain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, by entertain, I think we had like 7 people over, but we had way more food than we needed. But yeah, it was an awful Super Bowl for me because I had huge bets on the Chiefs. But
you just led into my next question. I know of your gambling background quite well. Who did? So you had the Chiefs. Did you have the over under?
No, I had the Chiefs. So I didn't gamble for a long time, and then this pandemic kind of got me back in, and then I do a lot of future bets. So I just had a lot of I had a little Tampa Bay to win the Super Bowl, but I had a lot of Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. So I just needed them to win the game, and then which was hard for me as a Bronco fan to root for the Chiefs.
I was going to ask you that too. You're answering your own question, man.
I got to root for my money, so it was kind of disappointing, but at least we had a little normalcy, and you know what? I'm just happy we made it through football. Pandemic would have been. I was able to look forward to every Sunday red zone, so I got to give the NFL credit. They helped me get through it because shit, we were doing football Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, so.
And plus basketball, all those days, and they change. You can bet one, and it's going to get canceled.
Does that push you in? Does that push you into the degenerate gambler category?
Yeah, I'm back.
And he's back.
Well, everybody's got their own personal view of what degenerate gambling is. It's nice when somebody can go, well, yeah, I'm kind of get back in that game.
Well, you know what? I got out of it.
Self-awareness.
I got out of it because it ruined a couple, like my best friend, a couple people really close to me, it ruined their lives. And I was the biggest proponent of this phone betting because it's just so bad that they make it so easy for you to bet. And I've always made this analogy, like gambling's the worst addiction because it's not like frowned upon. Yeah. So let's say we go to brunch tomorrow at like 10 in the morning and you're doing and Scott's doing blow outside and me and you are doing tequila shots and everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe he's doing drugs, or man, these guys are starting pretty early. But if we were just betting the first half of a football game and we're cheering for it, everyone's like, oh, those guys are cool. They're having fun. Like, I think gambling is like the worst addiction because it's not, and you can keep it like, when you're fucked up, people can tell, like if you're falling down drunk or something, but and no one ever talks about how much they lose. So,
and no one ever knows that you just pawned your daughter's violin.
Yeah.
They just see the for sale sign in the front yard. I was lucky I won a bunch of money, but only because I kind of know what I'm doing over time. So my girlfriend heard all these horror stories and then I started betting and then I ended up winning like 17,000 one weekend. So then my girlfriend, liked it a lot more.
One of the things we like to do on the show when we get started all the time is we'd like to start the show off positive, and being a storytelling podcast, I always like to find out what the funniest shit you saw this week. Oh, I don't care if it was on Facebook, if it was somebody walking down the road, somebody at the store. What's the funniest shit you saw this week?
Oh, man.
It's tough too, man. So if you don't have it prepared.
You know what? This is an awful answer. It's actually this is gonna be an awful answer because it wasn't funny at all. But in the beginning, it wasn't funny at all. But I came home, and then they put in this low income housing across the street from my house, and then there's always crazy shit happening. And then I came home, and this dude was chasing this dude around a car like he was gonna get him. I was like, and people are screaming. There's all this chaos, and I'm like, oh, this is crazy.
Are people screaming from windows?
Yeah, people are out on the porch.
That's awesome.
And then I'm like, this is awesome. This is crazy. We're gonna see like a world star fight. Then the dude can't catch up with the other dude, so he jumps on the hood of the car to they're just going round and around in circles. Then they jump on the dude of the car, and then he jumps off and he catches him in the middle of the street. But then in that moment, I realized it's not a dude, it's a chick, and he's just beating the shit out of this chick in the street. So it goes from funny to not funny. So then he's in the middle of the street and he's just screaming, your baby daddy called the cops on me, your baby. And I was like, I'm like half a block down. I'm like watching. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And then traffic comes. And then this guy's walking by with his dog. And then he's like, do you need help? And then she's like, yeah, call the police. And they're just fighting in the middle of the street. And then the guy, I think, realizes like he's going to be in trouble. So then he gets in his car and he takes off. And then the girl stands up. And then there's people on the porch watching. And then this girl's like, are you guys laughing at me? And he's like, we're not fucking laughing. Just keep it moving. And then she's like, I'm going to get my baby daddy's going to come kill all you all. And I'm like, oh, shit. So then I go inside. My girlfriend's like, what is happening out there? I go, I tell her this whole story. Then about 2 minutes later, you just hear sirens. Woo! And I was like, I don't even know what happened.
They're reenacting the scene from White Men Can't Jump. I'm going to go to my
Yeah.
car, get my gun, and shoot everybody.
Yeah. So it started funny, but let me try to give you something positive though. But that was just the craziest thing.
I mean, but still about those
That was
neighborhoods,
funny.
man. That was a funny ass story. And
Man,
about
yeah.
those neighborhoods, you got neighborhoods here, man, that the cops
Hold on.
There's places they won't even deliver pizzas around.
What do you mean those neighborhoods?
Well, one time across the street, all these cops start showing up, and then we were like, oh, something's happening, because they're definitely like drug dealers. My girlfriend's like pretty naive. She's never been around that kind of stuff. So she's like, why are these guys always standing outside? I was like, oh, they're working. But then one time
Waiting on the bus.
The cops start to come, like 5 or 6 cops, and we're just like, oh, whatever. We're kind of used to that now. But then the SWAT team came, and then they got this dude's mama, and his mom came, and his mom's like, please come out, son. They're gonna come in and kill you. Please come outside on the loudspeaker. So everyone in the neighborhood's out. I guess this guy killed like 3 people. And then eventually because his mom told him to come outside, and we're all just on the porch watching. But then that was crazy. But the best thing, they got all their stimulus money. Man, they put on these fireworks shows like you would not believe.
That's the new thing, man.
Oh, the whole month of July. It was probably actually like June 28th or whatever. And we were just sitting on our side. All of a sudden, we just heard boom, boom, and we walked outside. And then they just they must have spent $10,000 a week on fireworks, and they would just put them off.
But the new thing, the new thing is Roman candle fights.
Oh, yeah, no, I seen that. We did
Those
that.
are awesome.
I did the same thing when I was a kid. That shit hurts.
But half of these guys are riding around in cars.
Yeah. But these guys put on a show like similar to what I saw growing up in Wyoming, like what the city of Cheyenne did. So it's crazy in my neighborhood because it's like my side of the street, I just rent, but my side of the street's like gentrified, all these $1 million houses, not like mansions, but just because the price of living is so high. And then on the other side of the street is just hood. Yeah. So it's always interesting. But yeah, that's funny wise, that's about it. I have fun at pickleball. I play pickleball every morning with these old people, and they're pretty funny, but I don't know how funny it'd be on here. They just laugh at me because they just sit around talking about getting their shots, and I just have to sit there like a left out loser because I can't get my shot. That makes me laugh.
How did you get from Wyoming to Denver? And I would assume there was a period you did move to LA because you talked about it on Stand Up Explained. Yeah, so I went Wyoming to Phoenix, and then Phoenix to Vegas, then Vegas to LA, and then a little over 2 years ago, I just didn't like LA, so I was debating where to move, and then most of my family's in Phoenix, so I went down and spent a little time with my family, and I was like, I don't want to live with my family as much as I love my family. So home is Cheyenne, which is about 100 miles north of Denver. So, and I can't go home because they don't have comedy or anything like that. And then I had a lot of friends here in Denver, and then Denver just has a great comedy scene. So I just made the decision to move to Denver, and then I got super lucky. I was pretty sure I was going to move here, and then I went back home, and I was just hanging out at a bar, and a childhood friend of mine, we were just having beers, and he's like, "Where are you moving?" And I was like, "To Denver." And then he goes, "I have this loft. It's pretty shitty, but if you want to stay there, you could stay there." So I was like, all right. And it was right downtown, right across the street from Coors Field. And when he said this, I was thinking, because when I lived in LA, like we had like 5 people in like a 2-bedroom, like we built like a wall in our living room to add another bedroom. So just being broke comedian over years, living shitty to me is like way worse than regular people living shitty. But then I forgot, this kid's like rich and successful. So he gave me this loft, which is across the street from Coors Field. It was like $1 million loft, and he let me live there for 2 years just for free. I was gonna say, that's where I'm talking to you from today.
Yeah, no, I wish. He sold it. He ended up selling it. So it was so then that kind of made, because I was like wavering on Denver, and then he did that to me. So like I'm forever grateful. I could never repay him. It was at least $4,000 a month if he had rented it. So
2 years.
The fact he gave it to me for 2 years, I'm going to name my kid. His name is Will. And me and my girlfriend now, one day when we have kids, I think that's the only way I can repay him is I'm going to name my firstborn after him as a thank you. So I wasn't really sure about Denver, but then that kind of sealed the deal. So I'm super lucky, man.
Was it furnished?
Yeah. completely.
Oh my
furnished.
God.
I mean, this place was
Get
so
out of
dope.
town.
It was, and I could walk out my front door and I could throw a baseball. I lived diagonal from the baseball stadium, Coors Field. So I would walk out. I'd wake up on a day like this at like 1, and then I'd walk out and they'd be like, baseball game starting. I was like, oh, I'll just go in. That's like the closest bar to my house. I just go in and eat and watch a baseball game. So
I don't know whether to hate you more or hate your friend more.
oh,
Man, that's correct.
hate me. Oh, trust me, all the comics hated me. And like, and I never got laid more in my life because you had to go up these back stairs. And so you'd have to go down this alley and go up these back stairs, and I'd bring girls home, and they'd be like, are you going to kill me? And then I'd open the door, and it's just hardwood floors. Like the bedroom doors had those like fancy barn doors.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like it's the coolest place I've ever been. And I'd open that door, and it was a wrap. It was like, okay, I guess we're leaving in the morning. Once they knew I was going to kill him, and I lived in this $1 million penthouse.
Yes, sploosh.
Yeah, it was good. Get the mop out of the hardwood floors. Were always
Clean up.
It's always a little slippery around my apartment. So
That's
that was
great.
it was crazy. It's super lucky, man, to have such a. That's the good thing about the Wyoming people, man. They're so loyal, and he just was like, hey, man, you got it. Just stay here until I sell it. And I was like, wow, because
That's cool.
it actually benefited him because no one was there. He would just come stay like once a month. So he's like, honestly, I feel good having you here, knowing what would happen. And then
Did he make you get out when he came home?
no, but I would just leave because I felt. I mean, sometimes I just was like, I would just leave on those days because I felt like I wanted to give him his space. I never wanted to rock the boat because I was in such a great
Hell yeah.
spot, so I didn't want to fuck anything up. So I was like, I would just leave the second he came. He's like, I'm coming down today. I'd be like, oh, that's crazy. I got a show in like somewhere, but then I just go get a hotel or something. Didn't tell him because this dude, he was a legendary dude. And I wanted to repay him. One time I was like, hey, let me take you out, buy you some beers, or come to this comedy show.
You were there 2 years and you're going to take him out for fucking beers?
So this was like the first month. And he was like, I go, let me take you out for beers. He's like, I'll call you in an hour. And then he called me in an hour. He goes, be on this corner and like whatever. And then I go to a corner, and then this black SUV picks me up. Takes me to the strip club. We go to the back door. He has a key to the strip club. He's like on that level. And then we went in the strip club, and it was like a celebrity. And I was like, I was supposed to be taking you out. And then, like he did. I mean, like I said, I'm gonna name my first kid after him, and I still don't
That's
even.
great.
I know you can name your next daughter after too.
Yeah.
Take it to strip club.
I don't think I could ever repay him for how nice he was. But trust me, every comedian in the world hated me because they were all. Even Denver, all these comedians were living 3, 4, 5 roommates, and I just had this incredible 2-bedroom loft that was like straight out of a magazine. So it was pretty cool.
That's like, dude. I mean, every man needs a story like that. Every man needs an experience like that. You know what I mean? That only happens to dudes. That doesn't happen to women. I took him home, and opened up the door, and then you could see it in his eyes. I'm gonna fuck you tonight. Tonight's the night, bitch.
It was crazy, man. And if I could really tell the story, I mean, I'm just telling you what I can tell. I wish I could tell the real stories. If we're ever just alone at a bar, I could really open up. I can't get people in trouble, but just to say it was, as a 40-year-old, 2-year spring break, it was ridiculous.
Dude, you forget you didn't do any research on us. Frank, we're in a band together for 20 years. We toured from Chicago to Panama City. I want to say it was 23 cities, and we played 4 nights a week. Buddy, we get it.
Yeah, you know that.
We definitely get it. Now, you do a podcast called Stand Up Explain, which I love very much. Why did you start doing a podcast like that to help new comedians?
Well, I just think I think comedy classes are stupid and a ripoff, So, and as a comic, you just need money so bad. Like, you're going to need every dollar you have. So and I just, as a comic, just love talking about comedy. So me and my co-host, Andrew Slater, we just did it. Pandemic, we were bored, and we were like, let's just talk comedy and help. So we just did it for that reason, really, just because I was tired of, like, most comedy classes are run by, like, bitter, shitty comedian, so part of me is just like, everyone I know that runs a comedy class, I think sucks. So I was really trying to step on their money kind of and just be a dickhead and be like, don't go waste your money you can just listen to these 25 episodes.
I think you said that in your first episode.
Yeah, probably. I have no I have no shame in just like, because I just think it's a ripoff. Like most of stand-up, you just have to learn on the fly, just doing it. You just do it from experience. But when these people promise, you know, there's people charging $2,000-$3,000 a class,
My God.
which is absurd because, you know, even at this level in my career, I mean, I've been doing it 16 years. And if I just do like a 20-minute set at Comedy Works, they pay me $50, which is another topic for another time that they just take all comedy clubs take advantage of because we love it. But I mean, $50, I mean, that means you got to do 60 shows a year just to cover your class. And you don't really make money in stand-up till like 10th year, really. So I just think it's just people taking advantage with promises of like, I've been around the best comics in the world, and they just give you advice because they have love for comedy. It's like, you never see a good comic teaching a class. It's just shitty comics. I always tell comics that you know what you should do instead of teach a class is not give up on your dream and work on writing jokes instead of making flyers. You know, no one ever got into this business to dream of being a comedy coach. Like, so it's just me being a dickhead, really. But I think it's very helpful to.
Yeah, you've got to work on it too. You're not going to get it through osmosis.
No,
you've got to put in your time. You got to set aside writing time. You got to be, you know, at least have some discipline in your off time to, you know, that's the thing about a comedian. I don't think there is an off time. I mean, I think there's a time when you get up and you well, hello, my baby, hello, my honey, you know, do that.
Correct time,
right. But there is no, and I think the rest of the time is spent with wheels.
Yeah.
Just the wheels are constantly spinning.
I just don't like the promise. There's like I feel like the class is promised a shortcut, and there's no shortcut.
There is no shortcut.
As band life, I mean, we live very similar lives. It's just the grind, and a lot of it's just luck, and you just got to keep putting yourself out there. There's no class that's going to be, you know. I think everybody. I'm kind of writing a book about it now, but I think it's when I talk about stand-up to people that had just started, they'll be like, hey, how do you get on the Tonight Show? Like, you should worry about how you get on a show tonight. Like, you got it wrong. You need to figure out how to get on a show tonight to work on your craft. So in 10 years, you could be on the Tonight Show. You don't get to just skip.
Or you can be seen.
Yeah.
Be available to be seen on the Tonight Show.
Yeah. So,
kind of between the bands that Frank and I were in, I was on the radio for 6 or 7 years, and I got to actually be the radio guy that came and introduced the opener at the local comedy club for years.
Yeah.
And I always thought I could do it, and the owner would go, "Don't be funny." Like, what do you mean, don't be funny? He goes, "What if you're funnier than the opener?" I'm like, that's
no chance.
Thanks, Frank. I appreciate it.
No, I'm just saying.
Occasionally I was, but so I always wanted to do it, and I've done 14 shows. And this all had to stop right during pandemic. I couldn't go. There was no mics. There was nothing I could go do. So I started listening to the podcast going, part of it I don't want to listen to because the first part of what I do, I really want to do it either wrong or me and learn my way and then kind of go back and listen to some of these, which I've been doing. Like the one, excuse me, I'm going to cough. Like the one today I listened to was the one about whether or not you want to put your stuff out on social media, posting your material on the internet. And I've been back and forth on this with Frank, my wife, my family. You answered one question I wanted, but you didn't answer one that I always wondered. You know, I do have concerns about someone at work complaining. I have concerns about my wife or grandmother or somebody listening. And for a long time, I was terrified of that and wouldn't say our names and didn't want to put it on Facebook. And I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, you almost have to.
Well, I mean, that's another thing of like, that's another thing in stand-up. Everybody's on their own path, which we said a million times on the show. There's no rules. That's the beauty of stand-up. You can do it however you want. We just say, this is some of the experiences we had. But I mean, for you, you don't want to ever lose your job because if you've learned anything from this podcast is you don't make any money being a comedian. So you have to, your job and your family, you never want to, you know, a mother-in-law or something, you don't want to upset them, but the best jokes or stories come from your real life. So it's just kind of towing that line. And then I've had it the other way too. When I date a girl or something, they're like, how come you never talk about me on stage? And then you talk about them on stage. They're like, why are you talking about me on stage? It's like, well, which one do you want? Because some people want it or they think they want it till they get it. So, you know, that's just a thing. Like you just can't risk. A lot of people put their stuff on social media under a different name, you know, to keep your employer and stuff away. But
it doesn't matter. HR already said it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the story your girlfriend that wanted you to talk about her on stage wasn't the girl that banged Joshua Jackson.
No. That girl hates that story, actually. I still hear from that girl.
I bet. The one question you did kind of get into that I actually wanted to ask you, one of your own things that you talked about. You said you've never had anyone, or I wanted to ask you, have you ever had anyone steal a joke from you? And could I bring that up because your other podcast is The 31, and then I know a friend of yours and a guy that I know, Josh Adam Myers, has The 500. Did you want to have any discussion on that? But like,
No,
I'm sure you're friends.
Yeah, his is different, and like,
oh yeah,
I've had people steal like more of my podcast format, but again, I don't know my podcast format. It's hard to say what's original. I mean, that's a hard thing, but as far as stealing jokes, like occasionally, but the comedy world does a pretty good job of policing it, and now with the internet, I think it happened a lot more without the internet, because back then you could take my jokes to the middle of Ohio and tell them for a year, no one would know anything.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you tell my joke now, you put it online, and somebody anywhere across the world sees it, they immediately tag me. So honestly, I'm sure I've had stuff stolen, or like some people do your stuff if they're in jam or something, but I haven't come across something online when, you know, so maybe my jokes just aren't that good. I got to write better stealable jokes, but no.
Scott, Scott, who we talking to again, man?
We're talking to Josh Adam. No, I'm just kidding. We're talking to Brandt Tobler. He's author of Free Roll, Stand Up, Explain, The 31. You can get him at BrandtTobler.com. It's very simple. He takes emails there. He'll take dates. He'll take your mom. He will definitely take your mom. Right. Is there anything that you wanted to promote before we get into some of these other questions?
You know, I would say the podcast that I do now I just did episode 101 and my favorite podcast is a podcast I do called Craigslist Chaos.
Yes.
So I just get on Craigslist and I put call me in the search bar, and then anybody dumb enough to put their phone number on Craigslist, I call them and I just try to get jobs or buy shit or get massages or join the Illuminati, or you just never know what's going to happen. So that's my favorite one. So because, you know, it's hard having a podcast, getting guests and stuff is hard. So what I love about Craigslist Chaos is anytime I'm feeling like lazy or something, I can just come downstairs and hop in the studio here and I have 1,000 weirdos.
That's great.
So that's I think it's a unique podcast, and that's what I'm sure someone's going to steal eventually, but it's pretty fun. So I recommend it if you're looking for a good podcast that you can turn off and on and stuff, because it's just chaos. Honestly, I can't tell you. I'm dealing with somebody right now. This lady was trying to sell a baseball card, and then I started fucking with her, and then her husband called, and then they pretended like they were the police. So then I called them back and got the police. So then they went
I'm Officer Mahoney.
Yeah, they went to the real police. So now the district attorney's calling me, but I'm saying, well, yeah, I'm harassing them, but they're pretending like they're police officers. That's a felony, so you need to get them. So I've had a couple people die. It's kind of like the Spirit Show, where I have some regulars, and then like right before the New Year, I had 2 people die. Where I called and was like, "Hey, let me talk to Jacob," and they're like, "This is Jacob's sister. He passed away," and I'm like, "Holy shit!" So you just never know. I've had some I mean, you guys know how Craigslist is. I find
it's random
people. So it's I'm pretty proud of it, and I think it's always fun just because you just never know what you're gonna get.
I say that to any telemarketer that I answer the phone. I say one of 2 things to any telemarketer that calls. One, I go, if they ask for me by name, I'm like, no, he dead, and I hang up. Yeah. Or the other ones, I just answer and go, fuck off, and hang up on them. I do one or the other thing, or I just don't answer. That's usually the best thing.
Yeah. Well, then sometimes I wear out Craigslist. So then I found this like marketplace thing in Utah. So I fuck with these Mormons. They're great. They are great because, you know, they're like, one of my favorite things to do is call the Mormons. They always have engagement rings for sale. So I like to just call and be like, hey, what happened? You know? And then they'll be like, I was on my mission. I came back. She was fucking my brother, which is
now I'm on Rumspringa.
Yeah, a mutual friend of ours from Las Vegas, Nikki, said to say she loves that show and say you guys are. She absolutely loves it. Oh yeah, she does. You talked about it the other day too. She's doing mics, and next time I go to Vegas, she's going to take me. And I doubt she'll ever come to Louisville because she damn near has a baseball team. She definitely has a volleyball team with one rotation. Frank, this is a girl that listens to Brandt and we talk. We've upped our little game together, talking back and forth. I got her phone number. We talked today. But she's got it's six kids.
Yeah.
She had 6 kids.
And she still looks great.
Yeah, and she's still funny as shit. I mean, I would like to make fun of her and call her the old lady in the shoe.
So this is just somebody you found trolling on the internet? Is that what I'm hearing?
No. Absolutely.
Does your wife know that you have her phone number and called her?
Absolutely does. I was going to say that was, she does. Absolutely. Okay. She's right back there.
Yeah, okay. Hey.
No, she's not back there, but she does know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't think she knows about it either.
She absolutely. Who are you talking to? Nikki in Las Vegas? Who's that? Someone I met on the Crab Feast webpage, and we're Honeydew fans, and we're talking about it. We got tired of Facebook messengering, to be honest with you.
Brandt, once this motherfucker is over, all I'm going to hear is you got to edit that out. You can't put that out, man. Sorry,
we don't edit. We don't edit. Hey, man, when's the first time you got on TV? I've seen some of your appearances, but I don't know which one was first.
No, hold on. I know when the first time I saw him. It was on This Is Not Happening.
Yeah, that was the biggest one, man.
On
Comedy Central.
Yeah,
right,
Comedy Central. This Is Not Happening that was like the biggest one. I did little like local stuff, and then I was in like a Doritos commercial that won $1 million at the Super Bowl, and just done little like extra stuff. But getting Comedy Central's This Is Not Happening was that was the biggest thing, man, because I always loved the show as a storyteller. And then I reached out to Ari. I'm friends with Ari Shaffir, and it was Ari's show. And he was always real honest with me. He's like, dude, your stories are incredible, but you're just not famous. Like, if they have a choice between your story, or let's say Tom Arnold, yeah, yours is much better. You're a better comedian, but he's Tom Arnold. They're just trying to get traction. So that's what I loved about Ari, is he was always very real about it. So I worked my butt off on it for like 3 years. And then the 4th year, I left LA, and I was staying at my cousin's house. And it was like the middle of the summer, so and my cousin would go to sleep, so I'd record in his garage by his washer and dryer, just like in boxer shorts, sweating my ass off in the middle of the night, sending these back and forth, and then just hoping that somehow I would get it. And then one day, I'll never forget, I was doing a show up in Flagstaff, and I was in the Chick-fil-A drive-thru, and Eric Abrams, the producer, called me, and I missed it. And he's like, hey, give me a call. And I was like, oh, shit, this is probably bad. And then he called me back. I called back, and he's like, hey, we want to offer you a contract to do the show. And I just started bawling. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll do it. Please don't do so. To get to do it was
that's a big thing, man.
That was huge for me, because that's the one I really wanted. Because I was more of a storyteller, and I think before the pandemic, I was close to getting a late night spot. But late night spots are short, and I like to do more long form stories. So I think I'll get a late night spot when we get out of this whole crazy world. But to get to do that show, and because in the beginning I wanted to do a half hour on Comedy Central, but I ended up doing This Is Not Happening, and I think my story's like 17 minutes.
Yeah.
Where
4 million views, I know that.
Yeah, 4 million views, which is incredible. And like a Comedy Central half hour, once you put the commercials in, is only like 21 minutes. So essentially, it was like the same, but I got to do just what I wanted, which was huge, because when you do a Comedy Central half hour, you have people telling you, change this joke or format. And that's what was great about This Not Happening. They just said, yeah, we love it. Just let it rip and go. So that was cool. At the start of this pandemic, I was like, maybe I'll never get to do stand-up again. So just having that is like, it's out there and has 4 million views. It's like, it's pretty special. It's something they can never take away. So I like that. They can cancel me now, but that'll always be on the internet.
I started kind of a couple of years ago, really kind of diving into these people that are probably a lot more LA people that I haven't been exposed to. And I started seeing a lot of people, and I saw yours, and I saw Felipe Esparza. I just saw all kinds of weird people. Now, is he like that in real life? Is Felipe as spacey? So he's not walking around like smoking opium all day. He's just nuts looking, or he seems nuts.
He's crazy looking, and I haven't seen him so I used to open for him in Vegas before he really blew up, and he's just a sweet. And just, what's up, fool? And
That's cool.
he's very authentic. There's a lot of comics I think are doing characters to try to,
Right.
or maybe just making their personalities a little bigger for showbiz, which I get, maybe ramping it up. But he's a real ass dude, man, and he just a funny dude, man. Just I met a lot of comics in LA. Some of them suck, some of them are great, but he's, the thing I always say is like some guys I root for. Yeah. I definitely root for Felipe. He's a real ass dude that just stayed in his own lane and worked his ass off. So
yeah, and and he's so his way of doing everything when he's telling stories and jokes is so fucking weird. I say weird, I mean, but it's not weird to me, but he comes off with this distracted, airheaded, fluttery kind of thing, but it's part of the thing. It's all part of, and knowing that's real and it's not just him going up there playing the character is really cool. That's great.
If I can interject here, I want to ask you in reverse almost. I think that Joey Coco Diaz might actually be worse of a human being off stage than he is on stage.
Yeah, I've only worked with Joey a few times, but he is so funny, and I think he's got some crazy stories, and now he's a dad and
he's a kidnapper. Yeah. He literally has kidnapped a human being.
In his past, he was a little wild, but he's another one that I think is pretty genuinely. He just is Joey, and that's why I loved. Like during the pandemic, they came for him to try to cancel him. And backpedal, and he's like, man, fuck off. And he knew, but that's part of building your fan base. Once you know your fans are going to roll with you, you don't have to worry about, if you were real and authentic the whole time, someone found a clip of Joey from like 4 years ago and was like, oh, look at this piece of shit. And then his fans are like, you think this is bad? Let me send you some real stuff. And this is just,
Yeah, let me
like, he's another guy you root for. I do, because like, well, I hate all this cancel shit anyway, but he's just a real dude, and it's more fun to talk about, your mistakes and pretend like I've worked with some comics that they're just so fake, and it's just like I know him personally. I'm like, oh man, first of all, just quit trying to be yourself is way more interesting.
That's exactly what I try to do when I'm on stage. Yeah. I don't care. I don't even care if people laugh. Obviously, that's the goal. And I've bombed before, so no, I get it. Yeah. But I mean, you do micers, man. People don't even laugh. So when I go up there, if I'm not 100% myself and telling it like it's it, there's no fucking point in me doing it.
Yeah.
I'm offensive as shit.
Yeah, you just want to be yourself, because that's it's easier. It's much easier to just be you. As corny advice as that is, but I just think, and that's how you build a fan base. Because once people know you, then they want to get behind you and support you. If they never know you, if you're doing airplane jokes and bullshit jokes, like
just hack shit,
boring. It's just boring, man.
And
tell me about when you fucked up and almost ruined your life. That's what I hear.
And it seems that if you plant your foot and you turn around your back on people, the cancel shit, and it always starts with women. I mean, and I'm not a woman hater at all, so it's not a women. But this online cancel wave starts with the earthquake that is, a feminist reaction.
Yeah.
And it comes in and it doesn't take much before it, it's like, like sawdust, catches fire really quick, if it's in the air. And it doesn't take much. It just takes a little fanning online. And man, in a day, you're looking at, 750,000, retweets on some shit. And then 2 days later, you don't know if you've got a career. And for him to go, you know what, and turn around, I do an about face and go, come on, bring it. Fuck you. I'm going to live through this. I don't care what you think. You can't cancel me. I think if more people, now there are people who deserve to be, when I say canceled, I mean, just walked out at the end of the driveway and kind of, there are people who deserve to be canceled in the world. And I think like Epstein and R. Kelly and shit like that you just put them on a boat and no motor. But
put them on a boat fuckbag island.
The more people stood around or stood up to and just reversed face and just went at these people, Louis C.K. I can't believe he didn't do it. I really can't believe he didn't do it.
Oh, that he did all that? He did.
That he did. That he didn't turn around and go, look, this is fucking what I do. Instead, he just went silent. Anybody who goes silent, it's like, you know that there's people on their back going, you can't leave. You can't make a statement. We're going to have to go dark for 3 weeks, and then we'll come back up and release a soft statement. I just wish more people who were just doing what they love, comedy. It's like Gilbert Gottfried got fired after the fucking Aflac thing. Yeah, it's shit like that. I'm like, God.
But not after the 9/11 joke. That's the other one. How do you?
Everybody made 9/11 jokes.
But that's the thing, like, these people, just do your research. Like, you don't ever cancel bands. Like, okay, let's say there's country band, heavy metal band, Christian band. If you just don't like some music, and then you just go listen to what you like. And that's the same with comedy. Like, if you don't like what I'm talking about, there's a comic for you. Just go find it. Yeah. But that's the problem we have in comedy is people just come to a comedy club. Our name's on the marquee. You can Google me and get an idea what I'm going to talk about. And then you can choose if you want to come in or not. But you don't just get to come into the club and go, I like clean comedy. Why isn't this comedy doing this? Because you couldn't do that at a venue. You can't just show up and walk in and see a heavy metal band and be like, I want Christian music. Why is this person not playing what I want? It's so – and then – I agree. When they try to cancel you, those people weren't on your team anyway. They'll go away and try to cancel someone else the next day. So why pander to them? Yeah. Say, oh, you don't like me? Well, fuck you. You didn't like me anyway. So go. You can be as mad as you want. I don't care because you weren't buying tickets or anything anyway. So beat it.
As long as you don't turn around and snarl and start calling people the N-word or the C word, you can keep your, I say corporate work. You can keep your mainstay gigs. You're not going to lose anything if you just go, fuck off. This is what
I knew this wave was going to be a problem. I knew it when they start coming after comedy, they have certainly jumped the shark.
Yeah.
But how long? I don't know how long it's going to last. Fonzie still had another season or two on Happy Days after.
But I tell you what, but you got to remember after 9/11, they fucking banned John Lennon Imagine off of Clear Channel. It was
they banned the Dixie Chicks.
And because he said, imagine all whatever the line is in it, they found it. All of a sudden, Americans found it offensive that living life in peace or imagine there's no country, no heaven above. That was the line, and they said no more.
Well, I think it's coming back. I know for me at least because I did shows and then someone groaned at something I said and I was like, "You got some fucking nerve." What we've been through over a year. You think I care that you're mad about a word? I've been stuck in my house. I didn't know if I'd ever going to perform again. You think I'm going to fucking pander to you because you don't like a word? If you don't like it, then go back home. Stay home. I mean, and then everyone cheered and they were on board. I was like, but I'm not. If you're mad now about nonsense after everything we've been through, everything going on, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
I love it. Tell me, I hate to be the quintessential interviewer, but I at least want to get something in about this because I've heard lots of great things about it, but I haven't had a chance to read it. Tell me about Free Roll.
Man, it's just a book I wrote. It's a crazy story. I was doing shows in Las Vegas at Brad Garrett's club, and Brad Garrett had heard all these stories. Everyone was like, "Yo, you got to hear Brandt's stories. You got to hear Brandt's stories." So then one night after a show, he's like, "Hey, let's go out. Let's go get a drink." And he doesn't drink, so me and his godson, who's the manager of the room, and his sound guy, Dre, we went to this bar in the middle of the MGM, and we just sit at this table, and he orders drinks for everybody, and I'm sitting across from him, and he's like, "All right, I heard you got stories. Let's hear them." And so I was like, all right. So I just started telling him these stories. Then after like 2 hours, he's just like, holy shit, man, I got to go to bed. But he's like, you got like a movie. What you need to do is write a script or like write a book. And I was like, okay. But I don't know how to write a script. And I was just like, all right, I'll just write a book. I didn't think it would be that hard. And I looked up to Brad Garrett. I didn't want to let him down. So I just started working on this book. And then, over like 2 years, eventually then one day I just had a book and I was like, holy shit. And then it's just something that came together as, people are always like, how did you write a book? I was like, this is generic advice. You just got to start. I just told myself, get 1,000 words. And then it was like, all right, get to 2,500, then get to 5,000, get to 10,000. Then at 10,000, I was like, oh shit, this is coming along. Then I was like, all right, let's push to 20,000. I just kept going and going. And then one day I was at like 65,000. I was like, man, I've got a book. So
I didn't know I knew 65,000 words.
So then it just it came together, just trying to not disappoint Brad Garrett. And then
who? I've never heard of him.
Yeah. And then I had a book, and then it became real. And it's the proudest thing. I'm so proud of it. It's the best thing I've ever done. And like I said, I never thought I'd write a book. I mean, I dropped out of junior college. I'm an idiot. If you'd have told me one day I'd write a book, I'd have been like, I never thought I'd write a book. So then
96,000 credits, y'all.
Yeah. Then I had it, and then and then the cool thing was so then they sent me a copy of it, like the pre-copy, and I was like, it's weird. Chick-fil-A is a big part of my life, but I was in Phoenix. And I went to Chick-fil-A to like celebrate because I didn't have much money. I was like, I'm going to go to Chick-fil-A. I was sitting in Chick-fil-A just holding my own book, and I just started crying again like I did it. And I had this moment of like, well, what if nobody buys it? And then I was like, who cares? I
made a book.
I wrote it. No one could ever take it away. I wrote a book. I did it. And then, of course, I put it on sale, and then everybody bought it. And then that was a funny thing. A lot of people bought it. And they sent me messages like, hey, man, I just bought your book because I love you, but it's actually like really good. Kind of like a backhand compliment. But then I think I shocked a lot of people. I shocked myself because it's a really good book. And when I sell it or give it to people, they usually read it one time through, and they're always, I've gotten used to it because it is really like, they say it's so shocked, but they're like, man, that's you did good. And I'm like, I'll take it. So it's, and then I did it on Audible and did like, that was another cool thing to record it on Audible, to have that and to have people listen to my book. And, I'm sure people put it out when I come to their house on the coffee table or in the bathroom,
right.
But it never gets old. Like going into someone's bathroom and seeing your book, or when people order it.
You keep it in the bathroom?
Yeah. Like,
hey, you're going to take a shit. Here's a book.
But those are where the interesting ones, because they take hold real quick. Those are the ones that don't meander. You don't put War and Peace in the bathroom.
I'll be in here for about 13 days.
Yeah. Or just like signing them. I practice autograph, and we all practice autographs when you're a kid. And then never to sign an autograph in a book. Or there's been like one day I did shows with Colin Quinn. And he's like, can I have one of these books? I was like, yeah. And then he was flying back to New York. And I woke up the next morning, and he read the whole book and told me, hey, man, your book is awesome. I read it the whole flight home. And I was like, shit like that is like crazy. Like, when I opened for David Tell, he'd bring me out at the end of the show. And then he'd buy a book from me, and he made me take his $20. And then he'd roast me. And then we'd both sign it and give it to somebody in the crowd. And so just moments like that are just surreal.
Yeah.
Like, I got a fucking book that David Tell just bought, or that Colin Quinn read and sent a message. And so it just never, it's kind of like, as cheesy as to say, it's like a gift that keeps on giving. Like, people find the book, and, and so I did the Crab Feast, and then now Jay Larson, I signed a contract with Jay Larson for my book, and he's in Hollywood trying to sell my book. Me and him, I always looked up to Jay Larson. We have like an 18-month contract where he'll be like a producer, and he's out trying to sell my book in LA as we speak. So it's like, and he's a comic I looked up to. I listened to his podcast, just dreaming of being on his podcast. And to think at one point, I think he'll sell my book and it'll get made into a movie. It's just crazy. It's just, as I'm talking about it right now, I just get chills thinking, and that's the thing. And again, not to be cheesy, like, but anyone could do it. If you know anything about me, I'm an idiot. I'm a dumb idiot. And I have a book. So if
dude, I got a GED. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. If you're listening to this and you're thinking about doing it, man, I promise you, do it. It's hard work, but it's worth it. I'm looking at the copy of it right now. There's 2 boxes of them right in front of me. It's crazy. So just do it. If you're,
send my autographed copy to 1010 Old Vincennes Road.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Of course you did. Yeah, I was talking about that the other day with somebody on, I think it was Facebook, was like, I remember that thing you and Frank used to do with Jack and the band we did. This one little stupid thing we would do at the end of a song. And to have somebody bring that up 20 years, later and go, man, that was my favorite thing when you all did that. When that so-and-so left the band and y'all stopped doing it, I was pissed. I was like, well, it was kind of his thing.
awesome, man. It's so
I totally get that feeling.
Yeah,
and
cool.
and having people, dig it is one thing. I mean, because sometimes you do something and somebody says, "Oh, they dig it," but when something comes from you and then people go, "That's really good, dude. That's that you're like, okay, it wasn't just me. Okay, woo, it wasn't just me lying to myself thinking my shit's more important than everyone else."
Yeah. Because I didn't know. I mean, like I said, there's that fear of like, what if I put it out and it sucks, and
Yeah.
I never wrote a book. I wasn't. It was probably 50-50 chance it was going to be, maybe more that it was going to be bad, But I was lucky. I was broke again, as always, and I had to reach out to like high school friends and English teachers to edit for me for free. And my friend who makes big books gave me a super discount to do the formatting, and I called in a ton of favors, and there was a good chance it could have just been a pile of shit, but luckily it's not, so.
You put yourself in that position, though. You put yourself in that position.
Yeah, don't sell yourself short.
No, I mean, trust me, I know how hard I work, but again, it's like I could have just not. Luckily, I'm a lazy piece of shit. If I didn't look up to Brad Garrett so much, it definitely having Brad Garrett say, "Hey, do this." I was like, I'm a kid from Wyoming. I never thought a famous person would even talk to, famous.
Say anything to you.
Yeah, fame in Wyoming's like seeing the local weatherman at the grocery store. To have Brad Garrett believe in me and be like, "Hey man, you should do this." I felt like I couldn't let him down. So then to be able to bring that final product to him and hand him a book that sits in the green room of his comedy club, so every comic that works there picks it up and looks at it, it's just all crazy, man. It's just a crazy thing. And
your book's called Free Roll.
Yeah.
Our skit was called Hot Tub Gonna Make You Sweat.
I like it.
That's exactly what it was. That is a true, honest story.
So wait, what did you guys do?
We would start we had a song, and then there was always kind of a breakdown in the song, and then it gets squirrely. That's kind of like everybody. It wasn't improv. We were a cover band, but it was like every night it was different.
We took the song "What I Got," and at the front by Sublime, and at the end of it, we would just, instead of going doom,
the drummer turned it into like a James Brown thing.
And yeah, we would just and then the guy, I put a cape on him.
He put a cape on him and like escort him off the stage, and then the guy would throw it off and then run back to the mic, and then the whole song.
Tough, gonna make you sweat.
Yeah. So I mean, it was like,
I wasn't the singer, by the way.
It was our vaudeville phase.
We had shit like that for
right.
At least
but we were
once a set. We had something. We used to do Dick in the Box.
Right. Well, where they're used to. I mean, we weren't just a cover band who were up there playing acoustic guitars in our ironic jeans or whatever. Fucking, we were actually what they used to call a show band.
Yeah.
It was personality based. It wasn't music based. But people liked the music. They liked us, so they came. So that was the deal.
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about, because when I moved to Vegas, there's a couple bands like that in Vegas that they play all the great cover songs, but they just put on an incredible show. And there was one, God, I wish I could remember their name, but they just played in this little bar in this casino called Sam's Town every Friday night.
I know where it
is. We were there every Friday night, and they would do some of the same things, but then it also just mix it up, and then we felt like we were part of something special that we knew. Oh, this is different than what they did.
This is my thing, and I'm gonna.
Or we'd be like, "Oh, here comes the hot tub time machine. This couple from West Virginia it's gonna blow their mind. This is incredible."
Right.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Sometimes, those are some of my favorite nights in Vegas. Is we were just drinking and then having fun watching a band just have fun and
yeah.
Do you remember the all Filipino band that used to play on top the Rio?
Yeah,
and they would do Earth, Wind, and Fire, tons of it.
Yeah, we'd go up there. There was
that
so
was
many
us. No, sorry about that.
That's awesome.
Back to the Panays.
What is your favorite casino in Vegas? Do you have one? Or maybe let's start there. I mean, somewhere you like to go into, and that's your place.
Well, Sam's Town was very special to me when I first got there, because it was I lived in these weekly apartments across, it was just awful place, but that was like the coolest one to me, because it was just like the first one, and that's where we'd go every day, and we'd see that band, and it was kind of our local thing. But my favorite is the Bellagio for sure. I just love the Bellagio, because when I lived there, it just came up, and it was the biggest, most beautiful, and I think the fountains are cool, and I've had some special nights in there where I met Muhammad Ali, I met Jay-Z.
Shook his hand, Muhammad Ali.
I got a picture of Muhammad Ali, which is so crazy. So I just think Bellagio is the most beautiful, and it's center strip, and that's the one that's very special to me. And then,
Rick, you ever been to Vegas?
Yeah.
Well, do you have a favorite casino?
I hate fucking Vegas.
Why? Because it's hot and expensive.
It's just I don't gamble.
Oh yeah.
I don't give a fuck about gambling, and I'm not paying money to go out and get charged super duper to get fucking roofied by one of my friends or some shit. I'd rather stay
on
home.
His face. Yeah, my favorite is Casino Royale. It's this little dump.
The greatest.
Yeah, man, the bartenders are nice, the dealers are nice, the pit boss, I love it, and it's just really small and quaint, and it's right in the middle of the strip. And everybody goes, I'm not going in there, and I'm like, that's exactly where I'm fucking going. No one wants to go in there.
What about the Coke dealers? Are they nice out there?
Well, Vegas Vic, he has a limo and Coke, and we'll get you in the Cheetah. Okay. Yep, I do. I've got his number if you need it. Vegas Vic.
All right. Well,
Casino Royale used to be when I worked for the gamblers, I was kind of where I'd set up shop I'd park in the back, and that's where all the pimps would hang out. So I would park in the back on Saturday or Sunday mornings, and the pimps would be out there like real pimps waiting for their hoes to come back at the end of like the morning and load up so there'd be like 3 or 4 of them in these dope cars, and they'd be all fur and like real shit like you see on TV. And then over time, because they'd see me they thought I was sketchy at first, and then they'd see me, and I'd say what's up to them, but I was just fascinated by that life. They would just sit in the back of Casino Royale, wait for all the hoes to get done robbing tourists. And,
now, were you ever terrified they'd rob you? Because you're usually walking into a casino with a little big amount of cash.
Yeah, nobody knew how much money I had on, but yeah, I was careful back there. But people are always so. For the listeners who don't know, I used to be a runner for like the biggest gamblers in the world, so I'd carry hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash, and I'd run up and down the strip and bet sports. But people always ask me if I was scared, but once I figured it all out, I wasn't, because there's so many cameras. I mean, I guess someone could have still just killed me, but I really wasn't that worried because
that's all.
After doing it a year or two, I knew I parked the same places. I knew my routes. There were definitely times when people were sizing me up to rob me, but I moved so fast by the time, while they were making a plan, I was gone.
And I'm sure you probably see a lot of the same faces too.
Yeah. So the valets knew me. Everybody knew me. And then, so when you make big bets like that, they got to make a big scene with the money for the camera. So you could definitely see people be like, "Oh, this 23-year-old kid just cashed out for $70,000."
Uh-huh.
But once I got the money, and my job was just to keep moving and keep betting, so I felt like there's definitely times when people were like, "Let's see where this kid's going," but I was gone, because I was trying to beat the other runners. So I was running up escalators the back way or the wrong way and stuff. So if you would have. When I got
that's not obvious at all.
Yeah. So it wasn't like I'd know when someone's following me because I was, jaywalking, running up escalators. I kept it moving and they'd see me on my Nextel. So I think there was a little fast, and you probably figured out pretty quick, oh, this dude is not just some random kid with money. This would probably create bigger problems if we messed with them, which it definitely would have. Yeah, it would have created big problems if anyone would have tried to get to me.
There would have been a statement made in the underground.
Yeah, somebody would have. There was a few people I could call I never had to, but there was always one call away when I was like, if there's any problem, just call this number. I was like, okay. But luckily I never had to.
Yeah, I had to call my wife one time and tell her to send me more money. But that's not the phone call I wanted to make. I got kicked out of Mandalay Bay. My stupid asshole radio boss had gotten a room. I shared it with him for 2 nights. And apparently the record company that paid for that and all his drugs and his gambling didn't pay for 2 nights. They only paid for 1. And he went back on the flight the next day without telling me. And all my luggage was in there.
That's Vegas.
I was like, so let me get this straight. You are holding my clothes hostage, and I have to pay you this amount or I don't get my clothes back. Oh, and you go to jail. I go to jail. So what if I don't have the $175 for the room? You go to jail.
Yeah.
Here's the $175.
Yeah.
I went there, got a few hours of sleep. No, I went there, got a few hours of sleep, got my clothes together, left. And then I had to ask for more money because the money I had to get home, I just gave to Mandalay Bay, motherfuckers.
That's why you
I never go there again. I can tell you that. It would be stupid before we get off the podcast. Thanks again, Brandt Tobler.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Man. It's going to get weird. Frank Green, Scott Clark. We're having a great time. I'd be stupid if I didn't say, how did you get it? Oh, well, we're getting close. I think we're getting close. I don't want to keep the man too goddamn long. Who got you into comedy? Really, your first like the first thing I ever saw was probably Bill Cosby and then George Carlin. Who got you into that, and who did you see first? Can't even say Bill Cosby anymore. They talk about canceled.
I saw Cosby. It was incredible before he got canceled. You know what, because growing up in Wyoming, there's no stand-up. There's no comedy clubs or anything. So the first comedy thing I actually saw was Bill Engvall. I went to a country concert, Faith Hill and Tim McGraw, before they were even a couple or anything. Bill Engvall was the opener. And I remember watching him do Here's Your Sign or whatever. I thought it was funny, but I wasn't really like inspired by it. And then I saw him, but then I want to say like a month later, I saw Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, Jesus.
On David Letterman. And in a weird way, I was like, here's your sign. You should be a comedian. So
I did actually get to see him.
Yeah. You saw him live?
I saw him live at the Louisville Palace right before he died.
So lucky. I got a big picture of him on my.
Oh, man.
There.
Oh, that's killer.
He's I saw Hedberg on Letterman, and then that's when my brain starts spinning a little bit, like, what was that? And then that was it. He was my guy. I think I got a CD, and then one of my friends happened to be like, you should be a stand-up comedian, right? As I kind of found Hedberg. So it all came kind of together. And then I listened to Hedberg just on repeat every day, me and my best friend, Justin, and we would just throw it on. And then that's when I started like really thinking, let me see if I could do this.
So the moral to the story is Bill Engvall gave him his start.
Yeah. So Bill Engvall.
Faith Hill is the one that got you into comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who is your favorite band? I know you're a big music head.
My favorite band is The Killers. My favorite band growing up was Counting Crows. I love all kinds of music.
They're Vegas. They're Vegas.
Yeah.
Band,
So The Killers. I actually became friends with Brandon Flowers, the leading singer of The Killers. He would go to my gym, which is kind of a funny story. So we went and saw The Killers in Vegas. They performed at the Hard Rock. And then I'd seen Brandon around the gym a bunch. Someone's like, that's the lead singer of The Killers. So then the day after we saw The Killers, he was walking through the weight room, and I was like, hey, Brandon, me and my best friend Justin again were sitting there working out, and he's walking by. I was like, hey, Brandon, great show last night. He's just a super sweet dude. He came over. He's like, thanks. And we talked. And then at the end of the conversation, he was like, if you ever want to go to a show, let me know. And being a smart ass that I am, I was like, wow, you know somebody who could like hook it up? And he looked at me like, are you the biggest fucking idiot in the world? I go, Brandon, I'm just joking. And then we laughed about it from there. And then after that, he hooked us up. Like, we saw him at Madison Square Garden. We saw him at Red Rocks. We would just fly and go see The Killers whenever they did big shows. And he let us go backstage and do stuff. And he just puts on a great show. So, he's my favorite. Just getting that experience was super cool. So, and I just love their music. But I mean, I love country to gangster rap to I've seen, that's what's hard about this pandemic. I really just work to go to sporting events and concerts. So
now this kind of leads an abbreviated kind of conversation, but we're getting into this thing here, and I kind of want to pepper you with some things that we call a slang book. Do you know what a slang book is, or is it strictly a Southern thing?
What is it?
It's when your kids in school, like 7th or 8th grade, the girls usually would put together these tablets, and they'd put a bunch of pieces of paper and they'd staple them together, and they'd write slang book on the front. Then you'd have to answer all these funny questions.
Oh yeah.
Like who are you? What do you like? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite music?
I think they called it something different in Wyoming, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
All right. So this is my kind of quick version of that.
All right.
Who gave you the best advice you've ever gotten?
Ooh,
Brad Garrett.
Man, that's hard. I would just say, I can't really pinpoint it to one person. I would just say older comics really took the time to hang out with me after shows and have beers. Where I learned the most about comedy was sitting with guys, just off the top of my head, Jimmy Dore, Ian Bagg, guys in Vegas. We would wrap the shows and then sit, and then they would just let me pick their brains. And they, so I can't really say one thing, but I'm thankful for that. Sorry, that's a long answer, but yeah,
No, it's all right.
No, that's the exact kind of answers we want.
Last time you cried?
Oh man, I cry all the time. The last time I cried was I'm really weird about I'm fine crying, even though I try to pretend like I'm a macho dude. I'm a big crier. I cry a lot with music, which is really weird.
Yes, I do it all the time.
Certain songs make me cry, which is embarrassing when I was dating because I'd go to a and then I'd be on a date. I'd just start crying and
we're almost there.
Fight it off, but I mean it's embarrassing. Probably the last time I cried is The Office makes me cry. I'm an easy crier, so probably that.
All right.
I'm probably gonna cry when I propose. I'm trying to figure out how to propose and keep it together so I'm not.
No, bitch, take this ring.
Yeah,
I doubt you'll cry. You might get slapped.
So yeah, that'll be the next time I cry, I hope.
All right, love or hip hop?
Which one do I love? I'm gonna say hip hop.
Not and. Oh, I love that. Great answer. Pork or chicken?
Oh, you know what? Overall, I eat a ton of chicken, but there's a restaurant here called Cafe Rio, and they do this sweet pork, but they put like brown sugar in. That's as much as I'm a 99% chicken guy, that sweet pork. Once you say pork, it just takes over my brain.
Hey man, you're losing sausage on this answer. You sure you want to give up sausage the rest of your life?
Yeah. You know who wants me to give up sausage is my girlfriend, because sausage makes me fart so much.
Oh my what? That was in my prenup, man. Farting and sausage.
Well, yeah, I hope. Luckily, my girlfriend will never listen to this, not because she hates podcasts, nothing to do with you guys. But she would put that in a prenup.
All right. Pet peeve.
Oh, my pet peeve, man.
Your biggest pet peeve.
My biggest pet peeve would probably be, I hate probably is when people on Facebook or social media is like, big announcement coming tomorrow. Like, just fucking say it today.
That's definitely going on your episode.
Like, come on, man. Just like, I don't want to come back tomorrow. What it is, or one of my I guess it's not pet peeve, but a lot of times people are like, hey, I'm gonna tell you something, don't tell anybody. I'm like, no one gives a fuck about this but me and you, but I won't tell anybody. But no, I don't need this big lecture like, hey man, don't tell anybody. I oftentimes go, hey, trust me, no one cares about this. This is so inside our little secret world, but I won't tell these two people. But that's probably
I say the same thing. You'll never hear me say, if I tell you this, don't tell anybody. Otherwise, don't fucking tell them.
Yeah.
Own up to what you're getting ready to say, or don't say it.
Well, I always say, if you tell me that, I'm going to say, okay, but I'm going to tell one person. But that's I'm going to be honest with you, but if it's really good, I'm just going to be honest with you. I got to tell somebody.
Got to tell my wife.
I'm going to tell my girlfriend, or I'm going to tell.
Yeah.
If it's that good, I got to be honest with you. I got to tell one person.
Yeah. Bass drum or snare?
Bass.
What type of music is least represented in your phone? In your
polka.
Playlists?
Oh man, it's embarrassing what I have in my phone. If I show you guys, you'd be like, oh wow.
Dude,
what thing is not represented? What type of music?
What I listen to most is like gangster rap or country, but I love like what's not represented. I would say like jazz or something. I don't have anything to impress. If we were having like a dinner party or something, I would be. I don't have anything like respectable. Where like, if I had a respectable person over and I hit shuffle on my Spotify, it'd be really
really weird for that person.
I don't have like a dinner set list of like adults hanging out that I could put on and not.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of, we're going to have to tear this motherfucker up by Ice.
Yeah.
The playlist.
Yeah. There's
let's go.
I don't have that set list of like adults hanging out.
Adult contemporary. Yeah.
I don't either.
It's funny, man. I've never been a real hit. When like rap started, when we started getting it in the Midwest, 80, 81, 82, 83, then it was like cool because it was so fucking different. It was so foreign. So you almost had to like it. And then I went so many years and I just ignored or I hated hip hop. And in the past 10 years, it's like good gangster rap or really good hip hop makes me feel like heavy metal made me feel when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
It's really fucking weird. It's like all of a sudden I'm identifying with stuff and I'm like, I have fucking taste and I know songs that makes me want to, beat somebody with a baseball bat now. That's like, these are my hype songs,
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, this is great. Why didn't I do this earlier?
I was looking around for my picture of me and DMC to prove that I actually do like, because I have met him and got to interview him one time.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Wow. We did Radio Music Awards here in Vegas. We were at what is now Planet Hollywood. Back then it was, I can't think of what it was. Before
it was the Aladdin first. It was Aladdin,
it was no, it wasn't the Aladdin. It was the other one. It was the purple. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I did a big thing there. I met a ton of people that weekend, but John Waite and I hung out and did some stuff for 3 days. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
That was a really weird day.
But stuff.
No stuff. So no, I did hip hop. Run DMC, big influence, NWA, then all the rock and the cover band stuff. The one thing that I found now in my late 40s, I actually like country music, and I even like bro country music. Yeah. What has happened to me?
See, I like country. My girlfriend hates it, which is awkward because, like, one of my favorite band, my favorite country band is Chancey Williams, the Younger Brothers. They're Wyoming guys, and I'm very good friends with them. So I bring my girlfriend to their shows, and she hates it. So I'm trying to get her. I always say country's an acquired taste. I'm like, babe, I was the same way. I didn't like country for a long time, but it'll grow on you. Just please give it time because these are my friends.
All right, one last one. What's advice you would give to your younger self?
Oh, that hurts. Hang on. Frank doesn't know that someone does that. I just want to point that out.
What's that?
The question you just asked, Frank, is something that is asked at every episode of Ryan Sickler's Honeydew. He says, "What would you tell your 16-year-old self?" So
I didn't say 16-year-old self. I was getting ready to.
Okay,
I was qualifying it. I said, "What advice would you give to your younger self at any point?" There is no 16, 18, 40, whatever.
I just want to piss off Sickle Cell. Like he's going to listen to this.
He's the nicest guy in the world. He would never be mad. I guess it's a good question. Probably I give a lot of advice, which is bad because what do I know? But one of the things, this is kind of, I guess the best advice I would tell myself, I guess I learned at the right time was like early 30s is like, you just don't have to be friends with people that you don't want to be friends with people. Like, I think you have this dream. You're always going to be friends with your high school friends and your college friends. I guess we're still like acquaintances mainly because you have social media. But at one point in my early 30s, I just made a decision like to cut out the people that just weren't good for me. And it was like, made it a little awkward, but it was the best thing I ever did. Just like, I just think just do it, man. Just rip the Band-Aid and be like, and you might have to have a hard conversation of like, nah, we're just like not friends anymore. And it kind of sucks, but in the long run, if people aren't good for you, just cut them out, man. It might make it awkward when you run into them in a bar or at a mutual friend's birthday party, but
you don't have to love them and hug them. You can say, "Hey, man, how are you? Cool," and keep it moving. People get the vibes. I mean, I think most people are grown up enough to get the vibe that we're not connected.
And then like maybe the other thing is like you think people are haters or something. They just don't care. No one. I try to explain to my girlfriend right now. She thinks everyone's against her. I'm like, no one cares.
They're not thinking about you.
Yeah, they do not care. I hate when people are like, I got so many haters. I want to say, no one cares. Maybe they talk shit about you for 10 seconds, but no one really cares, which is good advice that I've learned over time. Like, I'll just keep doing your shit. Those are just like bumps in the road. It's not like a full detour. Just no one, I wish people cared as much as I used to think they did care about me because they really don't. People just care about themselves, honestly.
I found that.
I mean, it's less about you and it's more about them. At that, when it comes to that kind of shit.
I found that the mute button on Facebook and the not true unfollow on Twitter is so much easier. I know it's the puss way out, but it's a whole lot easier. Or at least I'm not going to see these people, and I don't have to look at their shit every day. If they reply something back to me, it's going to be 50-50, something that's going to be bullshit or something they're going to say nice. I would say 75-25 to be honest with you, knowing the people that I know. So I just don't look at their shit if they end up responding to something, but I don't have to look at their shit every day. But that's the puss way to go out, I think.
No, that's a good way.
It does. It does work. Brandt Tobler.
Hold on. Hey,
hell no.
hold on.
He still wants to talk.
Chill out. I'm not going to end on somebody else's fucking last fucking question. I can go out to like some fucking Steve. This portion of the program is brought to you by Carlos Mencia. So, all right, the last one. We're cleaning the palate. Wu-Tang or Jay-Z?
Oh man.
Because Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck
Wu-Tang
with.
is
You certainly don't want to owe him money.
I would
Wu-Tang is
I guess
forever.
I love Wu-Tang, but overall what I listen to more, I just have to say Jay-Z. I listen to a lot of Jay-Z to get ready for shows. So
Right on.
I tell you, Wu-Tang, I've seen them both live. Wu-Tang was crazy because there's just so many people on stage, but
Yeah, it's not just the
Who
band.
am I watching?
It's everybody. It's their whole entourage. Every person has their own entourage.
Oh, that's just a bodyguard.
And you look up and there's 100 people on stage.
Yeah, I think Wu-Tang. I saw Old Dirty Bastard was gone when I saw Wu-Tang, but I will say this about seeing Wu-Tang: Method Man was just so strong to me. He stuck out. He was just He's different energy than everybody. So, but overall, and then I seen Jay live too, and I guess I'd pick Jay-Z, but you can't go wrong either way. They're both on the playlist that can't be played when I'm having wine and cheese.
All right, man, that's awesome.
That's great.
Thank you.
Brandt Tobler, thank you for being on, my man. Don't forget about his podcast, The 31. Stand Up, Explain. He's got his book out, Free Roll. Don't forget about Craigslist Chaos, which I almost forgot to mention, which is the new one, and I can't wait to get on that and probably binge it this weekend. And you can find anything you need to do or anything you want at BrandtTobler.com. Dude, thank you so much. You're an awesome guest.
Man. Thank you guys so much for having me. This is fun, man. I need this shit, this interaction.
Like you're on next Tuesday again.
Okay, I was gonna say, hit me up. We can
Wild
do it
card.
again.
We'll definitely do it. We got
anytime.
it, man.
So, but no, thank you guys so much for having me, man. This is a blast.
I appreciate it. Frank Green, Scott Clark, It's Gonna Get Weird. You can hit us up at itsgonnagetweird369@gmail.com. Get Weird PC on Twitter. Also, don't forget, we're available on Facebook. We're on Spotify. And, of course, anything in your phone you can get to It's Gonna Get Weird. Thanks again, folks. We'll talk to y'all next time.